Hello and welcome everyone to day 3 of the Profit Plan. I'm excited to have you with me today, and thank you for listening from wherever you are, in your office or in your car or on your phone or your walk, wherever you're listening from. Want to welcome you to the third day of the Profit Plan, and I'm excited to share with you what we're going to be talking today. So if you're coming in, I'm going to give it a couple minutes so that everyone can get their pen and paper and have their workbook, their Profit Plan workbook out to take some notes, because today is going to wrap it up with the third pillar that we're going to talk about and put together the profit plan that we've been working on since Tuesday for you as a leader to take back and be ready to execute, and excited about what you're going to be able to do with this in 2024. So I am going to get set up here, and we will start. It's the top of the hour, top of the lunch hour. So again, welcome to everyone. Thanks again for joining and having me with you. So all week we've been talking about a investment perspective, the looking through the lens of investment, so that we as visionary leaders can play the infinite game and really, have a lot of fun, get back to having fun and having confidence in ourselves, in our business. And we started the week with the concept, just reminding everyone, when you think of the word investment, what that really means. And it's for a future return. And we do the world a favor when we continually evolve and bring more of ourselves to the surface, and in our business create more value and continue to innovate and evolve. And we discussed the fact earlier in the week that in med tech, our industry is booming. So it's a great time to be in this industry and lean into it if it's what you really love and you have a calling to bring some great technology to the marketplace and make a major impact on human conditions. And I know all of us in this field have that passion within us. And so if you really want to bring that calling to the forefront and lean in this year and have a lot of fun, looking through these investment lens is the way to go. It's what's the 25% of the businesses that actually come in and stay in and play the infinite game. They have this investment mindset, this investment lens of glasses through which they see the world. And it's based upon the fact that they are willing to do 3 disciplines that the rest of us may not want to do. They're willing to lean in to say less is more. They're willing to say that I'm going to become best in class because it's a wise idea. And they're all about the impact and the calling of why they're in the marketplace to create value. And they're recognizing the value that they bring, and so that they can, have people invest in them. So if you think about everything we're talking about today, we're going to kind of pull it all back into looking at if everything is a mirror, if life is a mirror, the amount of people that are investing in you have to do with how wise you are making investments yourself. So the better you become at investing, the more people are going to be attracted to be investing in you. And if you think about it that way, you can get really, really excited about this material. So we said the 25% who play that infinite game live by these 3 disciplines: less is more, best in class, impact. So what does that mean? Just to review again, because it doesn't hurt through repetition to keep repeating this. Less is more, meaning that they play to their strengths. They know who they're here to serve, and they absolutely understand the value of their contribution. So you realize that you have a certain divinity, a gift. Every single human being on the planet has a gift. And the question is how well they use that gift. But if you really leverage, we talked about using leverage to get exponential growth. If you leverage your strengths and you play to your strengths and you see how powerful those strengths are and understand the value, you have no problem asking for people to make that investment in that value because you understand your value, your contribution. And so you're not trying to be everything for everyone. You're going to zone in on your area of genius, get into become the best in class in your vertical niche market, and stay there and evolve and innovate and continue to innovate in that, to play to your strengths. The second discipline that those that are playing the infinite game are willing to do that others aren't willing to do is decide to be best in class. And they know by law, compensation is completely directly proportional to the amount of efforts and contributions you're making. So if you're doing more than you're being paid for, you're going to be highly valued in your organization, and you're going to continue to evolve. Your value, your stock value is going to go up. And if you are a visionary leader and you have a culture that you develop through your leadership, through your energy, that inspires others around you and your team to want to become the best in class, you are going to have an unbelievable ride of exponential growth. The third discipline is all about the impact and contribution. So the way the champions think, these comeback champions think, that continually play this infinite game, no matter how fast it changes on the outside, they're always thinking about impact and contribution. So they trade recency of events for intentionality and always keep returning to intention. And that's what keeps them going. That's what gets, they can get knocked down multiple times, then they'll keep getting up, and they have that persistence because they're committed to the purpose of why they're here and what they have to give. And they trade any kind of indifference for their belief in themselves. So they have faith in themselves and they have self-trust that they have a calling and that they're here to do that calling. And they get up and excited to go to work because they love what they do and do what they love, because it's given them fulfillment because they're making impact. So with those disciplines, we said for running a business, right? A business is not just the brick and mortar, but it's about the people, the processes, and the profits. So on Tuesday, we talked about the investments that you can make in people. Yesterday, we talked about the investments in the processes to become the best in class and to create consistency. Today, we're talking about the profit part of the business, how you create a sustainable business by using your money resources to invest and align with your future intentions. So we all know if you've got business acumen, revenues minus expenses equals profits, right? So what we want to do is talk about how can you widen the gap between the revenues coming in and the expenses going out so that the profits continue to grow and expand. And that's really the heart of all of our customers. When they're investing in us and our technology or whatever, they're looking to grow and expand. So if you kind of align with law on growth and expansion, by law, you will start to grow those profits. But it does require some decisions that are going to have to be made. And when you're making those decisions, really thinking about how well aligned that decision is with where your future is going, and is it going to give you a return on your investment? I always tell, when you get new employees in, sometimes you get, some of us may have some people that are coming into our market or into the company just right out of college, and maybe they don't have as much business acumen training. It's our job as visionary leaders to bring it to them and make sure that they understand that the oxygen for the organization is dependent on sales. And that's the cool thing about being in this job. It's like the sales is like the most important job, because if things don't get sold and there's cash not flowing through the organization, you're going to have a stagnant pond. So you've got to keep it circulating. And obviously the more earnings that we have is going to directly impact or is a direct indirect proportion to the value that we give to the marketplace and the quantity of service that we can render. So thinking in terms of multiplication as opposed to linear addition, and thinking nonlinear is where you can really make some big impact. If, like we said in the beginning on day one on Tuesday, spend is just a one-time trade, a one-time reaction. Invest is for future return. So if we can teach our teams internally in our culture about how, put the culture in to wake up and start the day every day saying, okay, great, what are we going to do to earn money today, and getting people excited about creating value, and implement that, we will also be able to sell value to our customers and sell the investment of our products and services. And what that return is, we're going to get better and better at that craft on the back end of building value propositions. So today we're going to put that last component of your profit plan together, and you're going to leave with the summary of the profit plan of what we've done for the week. Wealth building is what we're talking about today. So how do you keep building wealth? Well, one of the things you've got to do as a leader is recognize that your energy and your beliefs about wealth are going, more of that is going to be caught than taught. So the way you lead and your beliefs and mindset around money and wealth generation are going to impact the business. And so you've got to ask yourself some serious questions. Are my money beliefs and my wealth building beliefs in alignment with where I want to take this organization? And if any of those beliefs underneath are, like we talked about, it's just like a philosophy. If any of those beliefs are disempowering, non-supporting, you want to take some time to evaluate those and reevaluate them, and pick some beliefs that are going to help support you in the journey that you're moving forward to build wealth in your organization. But we're trying to grow. Wealth building is all about growing that gap between what comes in and what goes out. And so the questions before we start this session today that I'd like to ask you as a leader is, what philosophy do you embrace right now to build wealth in your organization? Every day when you go in, are you thinking about how you build wealth, how you're going to get expansion, how you're going to be able to build the team and grow the team, and what kind of investments you need to make so that you can get that return on your investment and grow your business? I would say another thing you want to question, you want to think about as you go into this session today is, how would you rate your team's business acumen skills and their ability to deliver value propositions? Whether it's a financial proposition or an emotional proposition for a customer, because many times, people, they justify value based upon finances or emotions. Sometimes people are justifying things based upon security. There's lots of different examples depending upon people's motives. As a visionary leader, do you believe that the pie's fixed or it's always expanding? So again, on Tuesday, we talked about the difference between an investment mindset or a stagnant fixed mindset, where you're, and the difference really is creation versus competition. So if you think everything you see, if you believe everything you see is all there is, and you see only with your eyes and not your insight, you're in that stagnant fixed mindset. So you're not going to be able to think about how to create a blue ocean like Uber did, or like Airbnb did to the Marriott chains and the Hiltons and those things, right? So you've got to ask yourself that, because that's going to impact your ability to create and build wealth for your organization. Another question as a visionary leader or business owner you want to ask yourself is, what legacy are you building for stewardship to leave the world in a better place? So it all goes back to your purpose and calling. And is that values driven? And are all the investments that you're making with the money that you have available going towards future return? And then do you discern your expenses regularly to ensure you're investing based upon the alignment of your goal, your future goal, where you want to go, and your values. And if you're making decisions that are aligned with your future and your values, then you're working in the right direction of law, and you're going to start building wealth just by being in line. So these are the questions you want to think about, because if you haven't thought about them as a visionary leader, then this is your opportunity. You were drawn to register for this for some reason, and so I'm here to share as much of the things that I had to learn over the last 25 to 26 years, managing people and managing teams and growing business, and even, having to fail and learn things on my own by running my own business. These are just really, really good questions to ponder, because if you are aware and you're thinking about these kinds of things, you're on the right track to move forward. And the more, just think about life as a mirror, the better that you are at investing your resources, whether it's the time component that we talked about yesterday or the money component that we're talking about today, the more you're going to be able to persuade and lead your clients to invest with you, because they trust you and because you're really good at defining what the value proposition is for the future return for them, for the investment of what they're going to give you. And you're going to recognize how wonderful and how you're going to start to really get clear, and your team's going to get really clear on how to differentiate and really sell the value of the investment and the future return. So the real thing is that we're going to talk about today, we have to look at values-based expenses and make sure the math matches. And when I say, does the math match, I mean, based upon the goal that you have for this year, or maybe over the next 3 years, and the intention of what you want to do in the marketplace, are you taking those financial resources and being prudent with them and discerning with them to make sure that when they're used, you are getting a future return, and the math matches. So that could be people investments that you're making, that could be system investments that you're making, that could be deciding on what kind of advertising, what kind of marketing you're going to do. But you have to constantly be looking at the return, because if you're just doing it because somebody says to do it and you're not seeing a return, then that's not being very prudent discernment to build your wealth. And there's no judgment here, because I've made all kinds of mistakes, but I've learned from them, and so I'm just sharing this, that it's a real important pillar to address. And as a visionary leader, if you are thinking about getting your team focused on the mission in commission, which is investing in people and relationships and building long-term customers, and really getting your product where it needs to be to serve as many people as possible, the commissions will come in, but we have to work at cause. So the foundation really for investing, having expenses and the money that goes out, is to make sure that you're getting value and return. And we talked about sometimes you have to trust yourself and know that some of these investments are not going to get instant return on investment. As you know, most investments don't. You don't go put your money in a bank and get $10,000 the next day. You don't go investing in a 401k and hit the winning jackpot, which is what everybody would like to do, because it would be the easy way out, but it's not the way it works. Slow and steady wins the race, right? So you want to make sure that you understand that, yes, there are going to be some investments that will take some time. People investments do take time, but when you invest in those people and you get the return, I know in sales, for me, the average was you get somebody onboarded, you would get them, train them really well, get them a mentor, get them, into a system that they could work and learn. And by year 3, they're your shining stars. I mean, they're doing really great. And that's a really good feeling, but that's a 3-year run. And sometimes you can get somebody to do it faster, depending upon, whether they're entry level coming in or they've got experience. But that return on investment does take some time associated with it, but that time can be your friend, as we learned yesterday. So, basically it's all about use, how you use the money. And, if you look at the net return that you're getting versus the cost of investment, if that's a positive number, then that was a good return on investment. So today, as a leader, in your workshop or in your notes right now, just answer some of these questions. Ask yourself, have all the expenses that you had last year, if you look back on 2023, there's been taxes and returns, and I'm sure P&Ls and things like that. Would you say that the majority of your expenses created a positive return last year? And, hey, we're all going to make some, we all have to take some risks sometimes, and sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't. But, how would you grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 in terms of the expenses that you put out, and did they get returns for you? And if not, what might you want to do differently this year? Ask yourself if you think your mindset's been a little stagnant, or if you're in a visionary growth mindset, really thinking about what you're going to invest this year and what kind of returns you're going to get from that. Because, investing is one thing, and then there's also a cost if you do nothing. And have you looked at that? Do you expect, this is a great question about employees, because sometimes we have, as managers and leaders, we have to really look, do we have the right people in the right seats on the bus, and are they getting us a return? So the business journals say that, on average, when you're an employer, like I am, every time you employ someone, you want to get a 10x return on that employee. So, can you say that most of your employees right now are high impact profit players, and are you getting a 10x return on your employee investment? And do you see, this is a big shift too, because if you look, do you see your payroll as an expense or an asset? And that's a fundamental lens. That's like an investment versus a trade mindset thing to think about. Because if you view your employees as your greatest asset, which they are, because they all have access to creativity and a mind that's extremely powerful, they're probably your biggest asset that you have to build your company with and your reputation with. Then you're going to be able to create some wealth. But if you see them as an expense, you're probably thinking linear and not linear, and you're not thinking about a future return. The other thing to ask yourself is, am I expecting to get a return on my payroll expenses? That's just a question you have to answer on your own, but it's a good question to ask yourself, because what we expect. So, when you just have that thought of making the investments in the people, like we talked about on Tuesday, you're making those investments expecting a return. Do I view my processes as investments as well? So you have all businesses have systems and processes, and are they investments or expenses? Something you think you have to do, or something you want to do because it's going to get you a return? And then, this whole process comes down to, just like you would do every year, when you're doing your tax returns or whatever, it's like, where can I do some trade ups? If something's not working, how can I, trade up and get something that's going to be more beneficial to use the money and the resources that I have with, instead of maybe what I've been doing. Because if you just leave it go and you don't even look at it, that's a problem, because you have to check that stuff on a regular basis. Then again, there's the cost of not investing. So we talked about, the Harvard Business Review cost of the sales team. And as a leader running a sales team, you really want to ask yourself, how can I invest my time and my resources with this team to get the highest amount of high impact profit players. Because if you don't invest in them, you have to ask yourself, what's that really costing you? So if you understand that all this investment ties back to universal laws, the laws of which that run the whole universe, just like the laws of gravity, you will start to see the more you start aligning with the laws, which are all investment based, and thinking in the right direction, all of a sudden you're going to be able to start experiencing some nonlinear growth. But as I said yesterday, every season that's been a great harvest season has always been preceded by a season of investment. So if things have not been exactly where you want them to be the last year, and it's not looking any different right now in 2024, this is your chance to be able to step back onto the success curve by just aligning your thinking in the right direction to align with universal law. So let me explain. First of all, the better you become in investing your resources for a positive return on investment, the better you're going to become at persuading your clients to invest their resources with you for a positive return on investment. Because everything in life is a mirror. And so if you take this to heart, you're really going to start to see some major shifts, and your confidence is going to go up, and you're going to start experiencing a lot more ease and evenness, I would say, depending upon, and resiliency to be able to come back if something knocks you down. Now, when it comes to processes and expenses, you can think of aligning with basic universal law. So what do I mean by that? So what you think about the law of perpetual transmutation all day long, 51% or more of the time is basically what you got. So your mind gives you what you give it. The law of polarity states that there's always positives and negatives to anything, but it's where your focus goes that causes your reaction. So how you feel, and how, because of what you're focusing on, because what you look at or think about or focus on causes feelings. So if you direct that thought towards the good and look for the good and look for the opportunity, and instead of looking at the challenge or the problem, and you're more solution oriented, then your energy is going to be better, and you're going to feel better because of the law of polarity. And then that's all the thinking and the feeling is going to translate into the action and your whole energy vibe. So the law of vibration states that you're the sum of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. And you as a leader are projecting your energetics to your team. So if your energy is aligned and in high vibe and confidence, more is going to be caught than taught. So if you have faith in yourself, and you know that you have these people assets and you can turn anything around if you put all your minds together, and you have confidence in that, then you're going to be able to turn your team around. As a CEO or a leader, you have to know that business has seasons, just like we do. There's 4 seasons in nature, there's seasons in business. We had a lot of expansion in 2020, especially in medtech, because of the pandemic and stuff like that. And then it's the season, kind of contracted, the market contracted a bit and went down. And so that's what I mean by, and then it's going to go back up again. We're going to have a surge. So the leaders and the people that are thinking about investment realize that in the downturn, you invest in your people, your processes, and your profits will be able to really ride it into the next height of when the market expands again. But every season of expansion and big harvest had preceded with a season of investment. So in 2024, it's a great season to be investing. And then there's a gestation period for everything. So you can't, you have to be able to play the long game. You have to be thinking about how you're going to take your resources and manage them through the lean periods, because there will take some time to get, the messaging and get to the customers, and for them to get the buying signals and them to get their budget before, you can see the fruits of your labor. So just like in nature, where things take, happen over time, your sales cycle is the same thing. But if your sales team is always putting down the seeds and putting down the seeds, and you're investing and you're becoming better and better at your sales presentations, etc., it's going to make impact, big impact in when the rhythm goes on the upside. And then the law of cause and effect says that your actions have to be done in a certain way. So again, when you're investing, the actions in a certain way of cause and effect are doing things for people. So you're reaching out to get leads and develop relationships because you want to support people and connect with people and build community and, help each other out. So that's the intention there. And if the intention is in the right place from cause and effect, it's going to come back to you. And then you have to watch too, in seasons like this, when things may slow down a bit or you need to sharpen your saw, that you're using the law of relativity for you. So if you start comparing yourself with someone who's doing a lot better than you, you're not going to feel good, because you're using the law against you. So the law of relativity says everything just is, and it doesn't have any effect other than until you compare it to something else. So if you're going to compare yourself or your team to somebody else, don't use something in a negative way. Think of where you've come, all the accomplishments you've had, and use the relativity, the law of relativity for you, saying, we're doing great, we're still holding strong, we've got our base business, whatever, and we're going to get through this season, and survive and thrive. So the laws, using those laws and learning how to use those laws of investment, the more you learn them, the whole reason I wrote the book, The Spirit of Selling, was because the more you learn them, the more confidence and faith you have in yourself and your ability to be able to continually rebound like a comeback champion. And then as far as relationships go, the spiritual laws that I put in the book, the law of pure potentiality says we're all connected. Everyone's supposed to go to the marketplace because they have a unique gift to give that the marketplace needs. So when you take your gift and use it and enhance it, and realize how we're all connected as one, you realize that the potential, the law is pure potential. You can bring more and more of that potential into the marketplace. The law of intention and desire, again, that's a sales call. When you go in, for a sales call, you've got to go in with an intention, and your job is to heighten up their desire for your product, to get them emotionally involved with what you have, so much that the desire drives their actions to move. And when you get really skilled at that, you win big. Law of Dharma and the law of karma. So the law of Dharma says we're all here for a purpose. So when you get into that intention and the value and the purpose of your business, like Simon Sinek says, start with why. That's going to be a lot more powerful, especially in the, if you think about prospecting like dating, right? The first, in the dating thing, in the beginning, you're just trying to get customers to know you, like you, connect with you, trust you, right? And so when you start with your why you're in business and what you're here to do, people are going to resonate with that. If you start, with something else, it's not going to be as powerful. So the law of Dharma is your purpose. The law of karma is the cause and effect, saying there's a boomerang effect. So if you go to take, people are going to come take from you. The giving and receiving is the law of circulation to keep it moving. So that's why I always say in the spirit of selling, serve, invest, and transform. And so it's always giving and circulating, the law of reciprocity. And the law of detachment is that you can't just get attached to the how it's going to get done. You have to trust sometimes in the universe and serendipity and whatever. But if you're focused on what you want, how you can, and you're keeping the end in mind, and you're not attached to the how, you're going to be able to respond without getting upset and losing and dissipating all your energy when things change or come up dressed up in different clothing. You're not going to be bothered by that. So for wealth building as a leader, how do we start this new year? Creating a clean baseline is important. Looking at all the expenses, eliminating anything that's not value driven. So if it doesn't line up with your values and it doesn't line up with your goal, then you just trade up, see what you could trade up or use that money for in another area. You want to realign the spend for wealth creation, not maintenance. That's a big one. That was tough to learn in the beginning, but you have to think about, if you're just maintaining status quo and you're not putting any of your money or investment for a future return, then you're not setting yourself up to grow the wealth of your organization. And then it's all about, once you do that, and it's the stuff we look at and focus on, that we focus our energy on, then it allows us to execute and implement the new plan and know why we're doing it and get everyone engaged around it. So it's the expense part of the profits is really, it's a leadership opportunity, and it's an opportunity to really engage the team a little bit more in business acumen and thinking outside the box of how to use the resources to get the greatest return on investment for yourself, especially when they're lean. So thinking about that and thinking about the energy, I'll invite you one more time here to really think about the energy leadership assessment that I spoke about on Monday, because business is a game of energetics. You as a leader, if you have any kind of blind spots that happen to you when you're under stress, whether those are that judgment voice, that inner critic voice that you hear that holds you back, any past interpretations when something looks like familiar from the past and you think it's happening again, and it causes you to react. If you have any kind of assumptions that kind of come up when you're under stress that hold you back, or limiting beliefs, if you get rid of those and you can see them, or you get them identified, I don't think we ever get rid of everything, but I think when you're aware of it, when you have that feeling, you can make decisions and change your perspective, the glasses that you're going to see the world with, and have a lot more choice to lead powerfully by having that information. So if you haven't done any kind of an attitudinal assessment before, I highly recommend reading that Forbes article and considering making that investment in yourself. Like I said, this week we're running a special, so it's $50 off. So it's $249 to take an assessment as a leader. That's a very small investment that'll, I promise you, will give you a return for many, many years on the personal and the business side of things. The wealth mindset in building wealth in your organization, you've got to create the culture and get people to buy into that as well. And so if you think about, summing up the week, what were we talking about? There's 3 pillars that you can use every year to basically look on where do I have any gaps? Maybe I have gaps because our team grew. Maybe I have gaps because, we've had a shift in people. It could be all kinds of reasons, but there's 3 areas that you really want to look at as a visionary leader to build your profit plan for your company. So one is the people and the relationship gaps. And have you been investing in the people and investing in the clients you serve? And how could you re-engage and take that to the next level for yourself? Does your calendar match your vision? And your relationships and your time that you're spending with your people and the customers? If you look at the processes, we talked yesterday about the sales process, making sure people know what they do, why they do it, so they can be authentically them, getting buy-in into the processes, because that creates consistency and increases the quality of service rendered. And it also requires a visionary leadership to have faith, to see, when the evidence is not there, to be able to have, like the blindfolded Lady Justice, to be able to see with your insight without evidence, knowing and believing in the power of time. And then the last part is really the wealth mindset and how you can build the wealth, get the gap between the money coming in and the money going out. And does the math match? So are you getting the returns, and are you looking, if you're not getting a return, are you taking action on it, or are you abdicating that responsibility? And when you take responsibility for it, everything happens for the positive. So just making sure that you're not doing maintenance spend, that everything that you're doing is an investment spend. The more that you put into investment versus maintenance, the more wealth you're going to build. So congratulations, you know you have the awareness of the disciplines of the 25% who thrive. They are less is more. Stay in your lane. Stay focused on what your strengths are. Build on your strengths, and lean in knowing what your strengths are. Make decisions so you know when you have to lean in and face the dip to get through onto Main Street and stay there, and knowing that you have something to give and you're in the right lane and you're playing to your strengths and you're leveraging your strengths. So less is more. The second thing is decide to become best in class, because it's a really wise idea, because people want to get the best. And if you're the best in class in your vertical market, you're going to be the go-to leader in your vertical market. And the third discipline is that you want to constantly be intentional about the impact and contribution you're making on a daily basis. And then you put those disciplines into those 3 pillars to build a profit plan. So you think about the investments in your people, the investments in your processes, and the investments with your money and your resources that you have, your time and your treasure and your time, treasure, and talents. So at this point, I would say you came for a reason. You registered for this. I want to thank you for spending the time with me. And I want you to ask yourself, what's next for you? For those of you who might want to lock arms with me and take this relationship a little further, there's multiple ways for us to keep collaborating. One is, if you haven't gotten a copy of my book, The Spirit of Selling, you can get that on Amazon. There's a lot of tips and tools and worksheets that come with that book that are totally free for the investment. So that's one way that we can keep working. And we also have a Spirit of Selling community and a Facebook group where there's different kinds of things and events that come up in there. So that's again one way to work with me. Another is that we talked a lot about the energy of a leader and the importance of the energy of leaders. So if you have not taken an attitudinal assessment before, I would say consider taking the ELI. If you take it with me, there's a coupon code for $50 off through the end of February, through the 29th. So take advantage of that, and then you're going to get a debrief with me, and you'll be able to experience the coaching and the support that we have and start building a relationship that way. Another thing you might need is maybe you're looking to bring in a sales, some sort of sales training for your team and investing in your team this year. Could be that you want to invest, you have people that need help on the front end on how to prospect and get more leads in the funnel and develop trust and credibility, and maybe they're new, younger people that are coming out of college, they're joining your sales team and you need some sort of a training. Or maybe on the back end, you have a mixed team of, all ages or whatever, but you really need more consulting on the back end of developing value propositions, building business acumen skills. I do sales training in my Sell Well series. I do sales training for virtual and in-person events, which are a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun in the personal events because you have more energy there, but the virtual ones we can do as well if you have a global team. And we could have a conversation. You could book an appointment on my LinkedIn, and we could talk about what kind of needs you may have. I have an audit form. We could talk, and decide, and I would come back with a customized program for you and your sales training needs. So if any of those are away, and the last one is, if any of you know someone who may have a need for the training, as well, that would be another way, because I have a referral program. But the Infinite Sales Champion, which is in the middle here, is a membership that I have. It's a group membership for leaders, sales leaders. So this might be for you if you're an individual or a leader, or maybe want to put your team into something like a group training program. But it's a membership that goes for 12 months. And the reason it goes for 12 months is because to get new habits and new ways of thinking, and this investment thinking really to become a whole embodied in you, so you walk, act, and think like it, it does take at least 6 to 12 months for that to happen. In the group calls, which happen on a Monday, every Monday, we go through the sales process in deep, all the different blocks of the sales process and all the different ways to make things like emotional composites and decision making and value propositions and all kinds of things around sales. But we also talk about the mindset, the investment mindset, and the attitude, and how you can take that mindset to the next level that can really serve you. And I've been teaching mindset and coaching for mindset since 2017. I, was lucky enough to get trained by Bob Proctor before he passed. And he taught me a ton about universal law and using mindset for selling. And that's why I wrote my book, In the Spirit of Selling. I was inspired by Bob because of all the things he taught me about universal law. And I said, man, I wish I knew that stuff when I was 21 and started selling. So those are all the different ways that you can work with me, and we can keep collaborating. If you're all set and you got what you needed for that, I really want to thank you for the time and spending it here with me. And let's stay in touch. And like I said, if anyone else that could benefit from someone with the experience that I can bring in this industry of 39 years, and also having experience bringing disruptive technology to the market by some of the multiple companies that I worked for, to do that, I'd be happy to speak with you as well. So thanks again, and I wish you a awesome quantum leap year in 2024, and hope to hear from you soon. If you haven't booked your free call with me, even for 15 minutes, so we could just chat and catch up, I'd like to know you all a little bit better. Since you did register for this, something resonated, and like to keep in touch. So let's connect and have an awesome day. Take care.